Good morning. I'm Julia Bogany. I'm Tongva, a Hachiman, Azteca, and Spaniard. Um, I'm delighted to be here this morning to talk to you about um, the nature. So I always say that the Tongva, we don't have the word nature, that it is because we had to make up a word because nature is part of who we are. We're connected to the nature. So therefore it doesn't need a name, right? So when I get up in the morning and I look in the mirror, what do I see? I see destruction of the nature. I say I grew up in an era where we could eat mud pies, right? My oldest is 56 and has never tasted a mud pie. It's something that we can do that we did a long time ago when the earth was clean and the rain came and you could smell it, or you watered your front lawn and you could just smell the earth because it was so powerful. And nobody said, don't touch that dirt, don't eat it, don't play in it, right? Because so I always feel that when people say, how do I help you? I say, it's not about helping me. It's about coming alongside, about knowing who you are, coming alongside me because you have the same desire for the care of the earth. I have problems with people just taking children to just pick up the trash. Is that how we take care of ourselves? Yeah, we don't want trash around, but we also need to teach the importance of what this earth means, right? The importance of our connections to it, what we receive from it. Without it, we cannot survive. We need to have the earth, but shouldn't we have a cleaner earth, right? And how do we do that? So if you think about that mirror and you don't get up and just wipe your face or blow your nose or whatever, and that's enough. But you get up and you really take a look at yourself. You really prepare yourself to go out for your day. And so when we look at we could start closer to home. That we start by looking what our yard looks like. How do we take care of it? So that everybody, we always see those really pretty yards in some places, and you say, "Boy, I wish my yard looked like that." So I could, and you want it to draw you. You want it to draw you to lay down on the earth, and we don't even see children do that today. Just lay down and roll around, and even though they're itching all night. I remember my mother always saying, "You knew that was going to happen, and you've been rolling around in the grass all day," right? But that's a good example what to do, right? That's what you like to do when you're playing, when you're enjoying the earth. And going barefooted in the sand, in the dirt, it's just like, so our toes just love it. And I think we need to get back to that place. It's not about just picking up, it's about taking care and connecting. When we connect, it's healing for us to be connected to the earth. How do we treat our animals, or how do we see them? I went to this one like a nursery, and they had deers just running around uh with the people. The people weren't bothering them, they were admiring them, and the deers were fine. Right? They didn't try to, I don't know what people think deers do. I don't think they attack, but they run away when they see you. But these deers were not running. They were just kind of in their space because we're in their space. And so I think that's my whole teaching about that. I think we should, when people say, I want to help you, you have to know, connect yourself first to who you are, and then you see how alike we are, how connected we are to each other. And then we become the connection of the earth. I always say, it doesn't take human beings to heal this earth today. It takes human beings to heal each other in order to have a decent place to go hang out. I love sitting under the trees and just hearing the breeze. Is comforting, right? When my children were growing up, so I always say my children are seniors now. Um, I would like to go sit by the creek and read. That was my getaway. just hearing the water go over the rocks was enough to relax. We tend to think of all kinds of things that really keep us busy, and especially now through the COVID and we've been locked up. What is it we want to go? We're missing the people. But if we have the earth around us, we can talk, right? We have the story of Juana Maria, who lived on the island for 18 years. And science at first thought, well, that's impossible. And then they figured out she was talking to the plants, to the animals, she was taking care of them. That was her company. And sometimes we think it's just, I don't know, you're spending time with people, but sometimes we can spend that same time with our plants. We can spend that same time giving them whatever we're feeling. We can give it to the plant and it will listen to us, right? It won't condemn us. It'll be willing to hear. And then it'll give you these beautiful, and some of them will give us flowers, some of them will give us our teas, some of them they're giving back. We don't take from the earth anything without giving to it. And it's what we want to teach. So yeah, it's great to pick up the trash. We can see the trash, it's always there, right? It's like running around with a dirty face. So that's easy to do. We can wipe our face and it's over. But no, it takes that relationship. And so that's when people talk about relationships, they're talking about I well, I'm only care about the water, taking care of the water or taking care of the earth, but that's still a relationship with my people, right? So if we see each other as total equals, then we become powerful because we learn to work together and to take care of who we are, and we can share that with each other. Okay, give it to Valerie.
Hello. Hi.
Oops.
My name is Valerie Dobesh. I work for Riverside San Bernardino Indian Health, and I'm a prevention educator, um, community health worker program, um, providing services, educating community on mental health topics. And our grant, it covers African American, LGBTQ, and Native American. What we do is we educate community on mental health, and we refer community to mental health services, and we provide resources. So if any of you see our flyer in the resource room, we have contact if you'd like us to come to your school or and do a presentation on any topic dealing with mental health. And of course, right now, self-care is a big topic in mental health right now, and what does that look like? And so excuse me. So my background is I was in a retail nursery for 17 years, and I've been in mental health for 17 years. And how they interact with each other is I have a passion for plants and designing gardens, but I also know how healing Mother Earth is. And so in that, I have developed teaching in the community, mental health, wellness through gardening. In retail nursery, I watched people come in on a weekend, and they would take a cart and fill their cart up with plants. And they'd come back afterwards and they'd say, "Oh my gosh, that was so fun. I feel so good. I came back for more." And before you knew it, I'd see them every Saturday. They were just on time. And but I knew that did that for me too. I understood the connection to Mother Earth. And so in that, I have a desk job now. I'm working in an office, and we have this grant. And I decide, what, let's do gardening out in the community. So pretty soon those gardens called me. Boys and Girls Club had a summer program with kids, and I did like 3 years with these kids. And so all the things, those connecting with the environment, helping those children learn how to garden. Um, and they connect it with food, and food is medicine. And so some of those children didn't even know where a cucumber came from. And we planted those seeds, and those children were delighted. We had a cucumber party, and but it showed them, that how much energy it took to plant, to grow that, take care of it. It gave them values of life skills, of responsibility. They weeded, we problem solved, and we looked at, maybe the water wasn't right, or but it was teamwork. And so it supported, everyone supported each other. I remember I made pesto for the first time, and I told them, hey, have you ever had pesto? And they're like, no, what's that? And there was probably, like, I don't know, 25 kids, different ages, elementary. And I said, tomorrow I'll bring this basil back, and it'll be pesto, and I'll put it on French bread with some mozzarella. And they looked at me and squinched their noses, and they went, oh, I don't know. That doesn't sound good. Green on a bread, nah. So I came the next day with these 2 loaves, French loaves, cut in half, with pesto and mozzarella. And of course, we know what that smells like. So these kids are like, their noses are all up in the air, and they're like, oh, that smells wonderful. I said, that's that pesto I made for you. And they said, oh, can I have seconds? I said, but you haven't even had first. What? So it was a smashing hit. And so I had, of course, cooked it at the office. And the women at the office said, are you going to save some of that for us? I said, of course, I will bring you some. So food is medicine. And so we know that educating our children, giving them responsibilities, and then they connect to the earth. And so with that same group of children, I would do meditation outside with them, connect them to their environment. We're inner city. We're sitting in the garden, and it's a day for meditation. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to try this. I don't know how well this is going to work with these little ones. And they were very, very good. They sat down, they listened, and they connected to their senses. They closed their eyes. And we talked about what they heard, what they smelled, what they felt. And they taught each other in that moment. They connected with their elements, the wind. And they heard the wind in the trees. They heard the birds sing over. Oh, but they hadn't really noticed that before, but they were still, they were in the moment. And so I thought that was fabulous. I thought, wow. I I decided I got called to another, and this was for youth coming out of foster care through the county, and they had garden, and they needed some help, and someone knew that I liked to garden, so she said, come and see our garden. So these are children, young people coming out of foster care that are getting life skills, and they're wonderful. They're just wonderful. You watch them grow, um, and experience experience, and they were hungry to experience. Once they had that first carrot, they kind of looked at the carrot, it had dirt on it, and I said, hey, you want to try this carrot? They're like, oh no, it has dirt. I said, well, I'll wash it off. So one took a bite and ate it and said, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. So here they all run over, and I want one of those carrots, I want one of those carrots. And so I worked with them for 3 years. And again, we did a lot of inside work too when it was raining. And so we went over, what you would do with different parts of your garden. And they enjoyed it. So fast forward, I had to leave that garden because our grant got bigger and I didn't have enough time. So I was invited back to a meeting, and they were just so anxious to show me how they had taken care of the garden that we had put together. And I went out there, and I was so proud because they were so proud, and they had loved up that space, and they had a pergola, and they had the greenhouse going. And I'm like, wow, this is contagious. And they said, didn't we do well? I said, yes, you learned well, and you went even further. Look at you. So teaching part of gardening for me is it's the healing that goes on, like Julia's saying. And I teach it engaging in the seasons, So in the springtime, as we're coming into it, this is a time for planting seeds, right? So it's new beginnings. And so we talk about that. What does that mean in your life? Because that's one of our stages in our human, that's the baby, that's the new beginning. And we plant those seeds in the spring, and then here comes summer and those plants are growing. And so we talk about the days, how long they are. And that's hard work. We work hard, we have long days, we have fun, we're bustling, but we're having a good time. But that's the way we used to live. And we've forgotten that connection with the seasons. We used to live by those seasons. So here comes fall, and now it's cooling down. Each day is getting shorter. The leaves are dropping, and we have to harvest our love, our labor of love, and share that labor with everyone that work the garden, our neighbors, our friends. And we put our love in, and food is medicine because we nurtured all that, and that's what we learn. And so I've gotten to see these young people um, nurture each other and teach each other. And when I was in retail business, I saw customers teach each other. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is great, because we're connecting as human beings. And that's what we're supposed to do. Heal, heal the healer. Everyone heals each other with sharing that love, right? So the harvest is a time to reflect, everything's going dormant. So I asked them to look at how would they do something different that they did in the summer. And that's the time to slow down. Everything's slowing down. And they'll look at, well, maybe I wouldn't have planted those radishes so close because they didn't get very big. And I said, yeah, that's right. Good thought. And maybe I should have done, carrots or pulled them earlier because they got a little bitter. And so those were all lessons about in the garden. But how does that pertain to our life? It's a relationship with the earth and connecting. And so I had to explain that the feel good that we get, the serotonin chemical that's released in our brain, is because we've touched that soil that has living microbes. And that's a whole living biosphere itself, is that, it's alive. And that's why everything's growing. Why is there earthworms in there? They'd say to me, because they're doing their job. They're aerating the soil, they're moving it through, and they're just leaving their little worm casting. Wow, isn't that incredible? Nature is taking care of itself, but we take the weeds out. So winter comes, and guess what? Everything slows down. The leaves fall, the juices, all the saps from the trees goes into the roots. We as human beings are to replicate that and slow down. But in our Western society, we've forgotten that. We think about more is better. Oh, let's go 24/7. Well, we get stress and anxiety. We have ulcers because we're not slowing down. We're not replicating what nature is telling us to do. This is a time for of introspect and storytelling. It's time to share those moments with your family, your loved ones, your friends. Call them. How you doing? I think the pandemic in most parts has really done that to people. It's made us slow down. And to be honest, I think it's a great thing, that because we have to rethink how we were living before. Too fast, but we can connect with Mother Earth. And that's the big thing here is the benefits of gardening is boosting your mood, reduces stress, helps build strength, because you're physical out there, right? So healing, it heals and empowers us. So my passion is to teach and connect with plants and environment and Mother Earth. Teach, respect the elements, the water. That's what I do. I teach the kids that water is sacred. And it's important to hold that sacredness. We could not live, nothing lives without water. We all need the water. The air, we breathe the air. We need the air. And we need to fight for it to be clean. And we need to teach our children that, the next generation, that they have a voice and they can be heard. And the earth, how do we contaminate the earth with chemicals that are not supposed to be put there, because then it comes into our water, comes into our, so we talk about those things too, and about the fire has its place too, because the fire, it warms our house, but it also cleans the space to start new. And so my life part for 40 years, I've lived in the national forest. San Bernardino National Forest, and I just would cringe at fire. I'd say, oh my gosh, not again. But it's a rebirth. When you see that fire go through and clean out an area, those oak trees come back tremendously strong, and new beginnings for the area, a new wildflower. Things come out that need heat, need fire to produce new. They need that temperature change. So celebrate the season and teach the role. Our role as human beings is to protect this planet and all our relations. That's our and so I teach that when I do gardening to the children in the community. And with the gardens that we have at Riverside San Bernardino Indian Health, we have a healing garden. I work with diabetes, and I work with nutrition. And so we educate that food is medicine, and we have a cooking class on whatever we're planting. And so we get to see the holistic approach of wellness, our mental, our physical, and our spiritual. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And again, you had mentioned this, but you will be highlighted in the resource area so that you can be a further resource to us. I know our last symposium was at a school where they had grade level gardens. And so taking some of your concepts and building on those even more deeply, I know they experienced, one thing you didn't mention was in gardening, the dirt, just getting the dirt in your hands is so valuable. And even the concept of where food comes from.
Right.
Young kids will say the store. And I have we have a small garden, and I've talked with my family about, I'm so thankful we don't have to grow all our food, because it's a lot of work. The earth it would taste better, but oh gosh, it is a lot. And so I treasure the home garden stuff and all of their experiences. A few questions, because we have a few moments. One was, for both of you, what was your turning point that motivated you to start reaching out in your community and teaching, either young kids or older? Like how was that a turning point for you? What was your turning point?
I,
And
so I taught preschool for 35 years, and I always thought I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. But somehow I went from preschool, 3-year-olds are my favorite, to college, right? But I saw there was the question about my book on that came out on why. And what happened was, so Marissa and Alana on the cover, right? And it was inspired by Marissa. She did an interview with me in one spring semester, where she's 15 now. She was 11, and she said, "Nana, what does it feel like to be a Tongva woman?" And I said, "I feel invisible." And she says, "That's how I feel." And I said, "Oh no, you cannot feel invisible. I work for Claremont Colleges with the activist media class at Pitzer. And so I decided to write about 5 women that were inspired me and of Los Angeles. And so that you can find all these women in Los Angeles. They have been given honor some way for what they do. But I said and so I started doing that because all my work was done for my grandma, which is also Julia. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, my grandma died at 42, my mother died at 50, and here I am in my 70s now. And I think, wait a minute, now I'm doing it for Marissa, the one that inspired me. And she's my inspiration. She can speak our language. She's a great debater. Right now, she's in her second year of high school, but taking 4 classes with my activist media class at the college. And I think it's just so empowering, because I said Tongva women never left their land. They became invisible. And I'm sure that now we're pretty visible. And so that's why this book came about, to inspire Marissa to see herself, right? We say that all the time about our children. They don't see themselves in the books. So then what do? We write the books that show them and inspire them.
Show us the picture again, because your book is also part of our Symposium prizes. And so more reason to visit all the resources. But thank you. It's great to know the story behind that and the inspiration. Also, Julia to Julia, then to Marissa.
Yes.
And Valerie, how about you? What inspired you?
Well, my background is early child development also, believe it or not. For Julia and I can work together. So, because there's just a building of creating curriculum and seeing the possibilities out there. And they're our next generation. And so I'm doing the work that I was told I needed to do by the elder grandmothers. 20 years ago, I went to a gathering of elder grandmother and grandfathers from all over the world. They were in Big Bear meeting. And just recently, I met up with a woman that was there with me. And we talked about what we were doing in our lives at this moment. And she says, oh, you're doing exactly what they said, to do your passion and teach the children of the next generation coming, because they need it. We've lost so much, and they're all our children.
That's wonderful. And along those lines, then the tech person ironically said, how can we promote this type of outdoor learning with the pandemic and shift to online distance learning? Like, how can we incorporate that? Do you have any thoughts around that?
Well, I just started a virtual gardening class.
Okay.
And so I sent for the University of Redlands native students, and then our patients at Rishibishi and Sherman Indian School students, I sent them little mini greenhouses with some pellets and seeds and everything, so they can start. And so we're going to plant a lettuce bowl. So they're starting their lettuce, and then so just taking time to think about how you can get someone involved in the creating of a container garden, and get the bug. They'll get the bug, and then they can't stop doing it. They'll want to go further, and that's how I see people. This earth, touching the earth, is contagious. It makes you feel good. I never met anybody that comes into the nursery when I was doing that leave angry. They're always like all cheery, and it's like, oh, this is great. They didn't come to fix their, they didn't come to fix their plumbing. They came to plant, and they came to have a good time. So they leave with plants, and they're happy, and it becomes contagious. So that's what I'm doing now. I don't know what, it just comes to me. I said, hey, someone says, hey, you're going to do virtual? And I said, I was thinking maybe I could do this. Or Julia will call me. She says, hey, why don't you think about doing this? I'm like, hey, that's a great idea. So that's what right now virtual I'm doing. And for community, who knows? I mean, I'm a master gardener, so I do a lot of volunteer work on the weekends. But that's really a challenge right now with this pandemic. We're not able to go to like farmers markets and do hands-on planting, which I would do for Mother's Day. I would do hands-on planting for children, for their moms, take home this plant for your mom, and they'd pot it up. But that's a difficult thing to think about. Yeah.
It is. It's a challenge. Those are wonderful examples, however. And how about you? It sounds like you both collaborate.
Right. So I've been teaching college students how to make this as a pine needle basket.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
so what I'm not going to collect the material and take it to them, right? So I said, go look in your neighborhood, right? Be safe, and just look at some of them. And then I asked them, well, where'd you get your pine needles? Some of them got them right there on campus, only one out of the whole class. Some of them found them on their way to the store. They found pine needles. And then we did pine needle baskets on Zoom, right? With little ones, I can show them my plants and what I make out of them and how we use it. But because the touchy thing is really important, right? I thought, okay, just go look for this around your neighborhood, in your backyard, and then let's make something, right? And so it's been fun to do that.
And I would encourage you along those lines to record how to make a pine needle basket. I know we have that as one of our resources. I've seen those, and those are beautiful.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. We can pass it on to our kids. Maybe that's the Mother's Day The Mother's Day gift. Since we have lots of ideas. And I see in the chat that Valerie, it would help you if we could complete the survey, and we have to choose community health workers as the program on the survey. And so it's hard to pay attention and to also read the chat. So as much as we can, we want to help you out because you're helping us out with all these wonderful ideas and resources. Mostly the chat that I see is just thank you and connecting these concepts to gardening and to the youth, and teaching the role to all of our relationships as far as Mother Earth and to the younger generation is so appreciated. So I don't see another question. I'll just give everybody a moment and then say, do you have any closing thoughts now that you've shared with us? We have just like a minute left.
I think it's that we need to see the earth as not only related to us, but give it the same love that we give each other.
I like that.
I agree, definitely. Our children are watching us. We are the example for the next generation. So make it count.
And I think one person commented that they saw you greet the plants personally in one of the gardens in your work. And so just that believing that and showing the respect is so important. And so again, it's just wonderful to see you live in Zoom and ask our questions and really start the morning off with reflection. I wish we could be outdoors, and hopefully one of these times we can have these in-person meetings. But I love, again, thank you so much.